Welcome to this episode of Keep It Off. This is the platform where, however you lose your weight, you will get the unfiltered truth about what life is generally like for all of us, with the challenges and the obstacles that we face in trying to keep that weight off. And it doesn't matter how we've lost our weight. It doesn't matter if you have lost it with bariatric surgery, whether you've lost it with weight loss drugs, whether you've done it organically, whether you've lost 2 stone or 22 stone. The methods for keeping your weight off for life are the same, and you will get absolutely fantastic advice. So welcome to this week's episode. I'm delighted to have our very good friend Shaw Summers with us today, and we're going to be talking about a few different subjects that you are going to relate to. So keep listening, enjoy, and let me please introduce Mr. Shaw Summers.
Hello, Mel, and thanks again for having me on.
It's always our pleasure. It really is. So thank you for being here. Today, I want to talk to you about medications that people may be on that have well-known side effects of making you gain weight. Things like steroids, some antidepressants, certain blood pressure medications. How do people that are losing weight or have had surgery, or particularly those that are on the GLP-1 meds, how do those contra meds affect them, and what can we do about them? Is there anything we need to worry about?
I think there's nothing you need to worry about, in that if you're on a prescribed medication like an antidepressant, like steroids for an inflammatory condition, you need to stay on those meds. It's not a negotiable, really. And if they're causing weight gain, then there are things we can do to mitigate or reduce the weight gain and help you lose weight if that's necessary. There's no interaction, if you like, between the weight loss meds, GLP-1s, and things like steroid medications or antidepressants. There are a few other medications that cause weight gain. Probably the commonest one is insulin for diabetes, causes weight gain. It is the biggest cause of weight gain in diabetics is insulin. It's a growth hormone. Insulin is a medicine, an injectable medicine that reduces blood sugar, not by magicking it away. It forces the sugar in your blood into your cells, especially fat cells.
Right.
That's how it reduces blood sugar. So when they discovered insulin as a treatment for diabetes, everyone went, fantastic, your blood sugar level's gone down. Isn't that wonderful? You're no longer diabetic. And for type 1 diabetics who don't have any insulin in their circulation, absolutely life-saving. If you're a type 1 diabetic that has a diet with too much carbohydrate in it, and you need to have more insulin to cope with it, to bring your blood sugar down, what's happening is your insulin is forcing the sugar into your fat cells, and your fat cells grow. So type 1 diabetics can put on weight because of the insulin effect. Now for type 2 diabetics, it's even worse, because they have natural insulin, but because their metabolism is all screwed up and they've got what we call metabolic syndrome, they're not responding to the insulin. And it's this receptor thing where there's a ton of insulin around, but the cells aren't listening, the receptors aren't listening. And so your body makes more and more insulin, but the body's not listening. And so they become diabetic. And so the old-fashioned treatment of type 2 diabetes was, if it's bad enough, you give insulin, more insulin, you shout louder at the cells, and eventually they respond, but all they're going to do is take in more and more of this sugar and get fatter and fatter. So insulin is probably one of the worst culprits for causing obesity. in diabetics.
Mm.
Is why we try and get them off insulin and onto GLP-1s. It's amazing. It makes the cells listen again, if you like, to the insulin signal without giving any insulin.
Oh, great. So basically, when they're taking Ozempic, they're taking that rather than insulin.
Correct.
Right.
It reduces their dependence on insulin. So in terms of drugs and weight loss medications, don't stop the drugs that you need to treat the conditions that you have. But we can give you things like GLP-1s to reduce the obesogenic effects of those medications. Similarly, for weight loss surgery, the changes to your metabolism and your hormones that causes will help to counteract the obesogenic effects of the drugs you're on, whether that's steroids or antidepressants. Can't totally reverse it, but it'll certainly help. And the only thing you need to bear in mind is if you have bypass surgery, there are some drugs that aren't absorbed as well, but it's not many, it's rare.
Right. Actually, that leads me on to my next question. When you have had weight loss surgery, and particularly a bypass, you're bypassing effectively the part of the stomach and most of the intestine where the digestion takes place and where we absorb most of our nutrients. Does that mean that we need to take double the dosage of certain things to be able to still get enough into us?
We bypass the stomach, and there are certain vitamins that rely on things from the stomach to get absorbed properly. And the best example of that is vitamin B12. It's in, the diet, usually in animal products. But the way we absorb it is that there is a factor made by the stomach lining called intrinsic factor, which sticks on the vitamin B12 in a little complex. So it goes, haha, gotcha. That complex then goes all the way down the intestine, and at the final 50 centimeters of your small intestine, there are specialized cells that look for this complex of captured B12 and goes, yep, I'll have you. And that's how you get the B12 into you. So you rely on having enough of intrinsic factor in the stomach to capture the B12 so that lower down the intestine you can absorb it. So you need extra B12 when you've had a bypass, because although you're making intrinsic factor in the bit of stomach that's been bypassed, it's not meeting the food.
Right. That's why if you've had a bypass, you need to have regular B12 injections.
If you've had a sleeve, the bit of the stomach that makes intrinsic factor is in the bin. So you're going to need extra B12 if you've had a sleeve. You don't if you've had a gastric band. You don't need it because your stomach's still there. The food is mixing with the intrinsic factor. Similarly, in your stomach, your bypass stomach, you don't have a lot of acid there. And when you eat iron-containing foods, it needs to be acidified to convert the iron into what's called its ferric form, not ferrous form, so Fe3+, not Fe2+, for you to absorb it in your upper small intestine. And with a bypass, most of the intestine is actually in circuit. It's working normally. We just bypass probably the top quarter, the top third, which you can live without, because years of experience have taught us if people have a problem, we have to remove that bit of intestine, they can live a normal life. But your absorption of things like iron, calcium, folate, slightly reduced. So we make sure you have that in your diet. And the easiest way of doing that is taking an A to Z multivitamin supplement, which has minerals as well, and you're fine.
So if somebody who hasn't had weight loss surgery is regularly taking a multivitamin every day, with surgery, would you need to take more than just one multivitamin?
So everyone is slightly different. We all absorb things more efficiently, less efficiently compared to the rest of the population. We tend to measure the levels of key hormones, so and vitamins. So we'll measure vitamin D and B12, folate, ferritin, which is a marker of your iron levels, and then we measure selenium, copper, and zinc. And those markers will tell us how your general absorption's going. And for most people, taking an A to Z multivitamin a day, plus or minus an extra B12 injection, is enough. For premenopausal women still having periods, you probably need an extra iron, a ferric iron tablet.
Yeah.
And that's generally enough for most people who've had a bypass. For sleeves, it's a bit easier because we haven't fiddled with the intestine at all. So absorptions, once it goes through the stomach, absorption is absolutely normal. Digestion is normal. So slightly less of a requirement.
Do you remember when you could actually talk to someone who knew your name, understood your business, and gave you advice you could trust? Well, at Simply Insurance Solutions, that is still who we are and how we work. We work with you to assess your current insurance needs and make sure that you have exactly the right cover. Nothing more, nothing less. With over 40 years of knowledge and experience, our primary objective is to secure the most comprehensive cover that's robust and relevant for you at the most competitive price. Whether it's the increasingly essential cybersecurity, your commercial property, business, or your home, call 01707 291 200 and press 3 and 3. It'll get you through quickly and you'll be able to book your free, no obligation insurance review. Remember, the gaps in your cover won't show up until it's too late. We don't have to suddenly panic that we're not digesting things properly, we're not absorbing things properly. And is that also the case with GLP-1s? There's nothing in the injections that stop us from absorbing foods and nutrients in the way we should?
Not that we know of. GLP-1s are pretty much ineffective at changing your digestion and your assimilation. What they mainly change is the signals, the feedback, if you like, that drives your food intake and the metabolic regulation. Whereas the surgery, because it affects more than just GLP, it's like a whole orchestra of hormones that change. It's a much more profound thing. People say, yeah, it's really working. So people who've had GLP-1s who then have an injection go, wow, this is different. It is actually much more effective than when I was on the GLP-1s.
Oh, that's brilliant. Now, I know also that another medication that can affect weight or make you put on weight is contraceptive pills. And obviously, they're very hormonal based. Are they also easy to deal with in terms of stopping the obese? What's the word you used?
The obesogenic effect.
Yeah.
The short answer is no. It's not as easy because for many of the oral contraceptive pills, the progesterones in it cause fluid retention, not necessarily weight gain. The estrogen causes a bit of fat gain. So the estrogen causes a bit of fat gain, but it's the progesterone that will cause fluid retention and a bit of fat gain as it happens. And it's that's the problem. So people who have the depot or the implant contraceptive really struggle with weight loss. It just big, and I've seen this a number of times. People have had weight loss surgery, they're doing fine, and all of a sudden it stops, then it goes into reverse, and we're going, oh my God, what's happened? Tell us what's changed. What's your diet shows? Nothing. I don't know what's wrong, but I had a contraceptive implant last month, and it went, there it is. And it's the hormone, and there's not a lot that you can do about that because it is a fundamental hormone for the female body and its workings. So we advise now really against having certainly the depot or the hormone implant as a contraceptive, if possible, avoid going on the oral contraceptive pill and rely on barrier methods or an IUCD. Even in people who've not had a family, an IUCD is preferable.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really good to know, because these are things that people do worry about. Women in particular, they worry about certain things that we do that could actually make us gain weight when we're desperately trying to lose it, and that's a double whammy. And with women in particular, what about PCOS? Now, that's polycystic ovarian syndrome, for people that are not aware of it, where the ovaries get covered in a number of, or a lot of, cysts. That also is said to cause weight gain.
Oh, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Apart from all the other issues it causes, like, hair where you don't want it, hirsutism.
So do you want my 101 on PCOS?
Yeah, go on then. Let's have the 101.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome is, I think, probably one of the worst named illnesses, if indeed it is an illness, that we've come across in modern medicine. It was described because the most obvious sign at the time was lots of cysts on the ovaries. So the gynecologist said, "Oh, polycystic ovaries there. It's we can spot them on an ultrasound. There they are." And we know that there is a problem with your fertility. So people with polycystic ovarian syndrome have struggled with fertility.
Yeah.
Someone then said, actually, they also struggle with their weight, and they struggle with excess hair in odd places, like facial hair, like arm hair. And there are a number of things that all go together with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Actually, what it is, if in basic terms, is it's a subtype of human. So there are a subtype of humans who have ginger hair. Okay, it's just a type of human who happens to have ginger hair. There are a type of human that have polycystic ovaries. But going with that difference, they're normal humans, they live normal lives, there's nothing wrong with them as such, other than their endocrine system isn't working like we expect it to. So that if you give them high carbohydrate foods, they put on weight. It seems that their method of dealing with carbohydrates is not the same as other people's. They will preferentially turn it into fat before they then burn that fat off. Whereas if I eat a lot of carbohydrates, my body will burn it off, and only if there's a ton of it will it make fat. For someone with polycystic ovarian syndrome, it seems that they will preferentially turn it into fat first before they burn it off. You ask anyone with polycystic ovaries, they go, yeah, carbs. I only have to look at a cake and I put weight on.
Yeah.
So they are more prone to metabolic syndrome. And, it is just a subtype, slightly different type of human. And it's genetic. It's not something you can change or treat to make the polycystic type of person get better or go away. What you can do is work with it, and that is low carb diet, which we all know that the Atkins diet, you can do it, but it's not very tasty and not very enjoyable. But it does work for polycystic ovarian, for PCOS patients or PCOS people. They're not patients. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
It's when they get overweight, that's when the metabolic syndrome happens. That's when it becomes an illness, if you like. But the actual genetic type is, it's a genetic type of human. There's nothing wrong with it. But you can manage it by understanding that if you're developing the polycystic ovarian syndrome type, then actually you need to cut back on carbs. And if you do put weight on, treating that with GLP-1s, with bariatric surgery, does work. And so it will help hold it back into a more normal type. And that's a very basic view of what is actually quite a complex syndrome. But the ovaries that's not the problem. It's like a reflection of the type.
At least it's encouraging to know that whereas some women will say, I've got PCOS, so I won't be able to lose weight, we can lose weight. Surgery definitely helps. GLP-1s will help. Cutting out carbohydrates will help you lose weight, even if you've got PCOS. And that's not just coming from Shaw, that's coming from me, because I have PCOS. I was diagnosed when I was 17. I used to suffer terribly with facial hair. Thank goodness for laser machines that got rid of it for me. I was unable to have children, but that's a story for another day. So yeah, I have PCOS, but I've still lost 90 kilos. So it can be done. That's the takeaway. So thank you. That's really good. Whilst we're on the subject of women, and I'm sorry for all you men out there, and also this is, again, a bit more for the surgery side of things, people that have actually had surgery. What about women that do decide, okay, I've had my surgery, but I would like to have a baby? Can they have a normal pregnancy after a bypass or a sleeve? Is it dangerous for them in any way? Is there anything they need to be concerned about? You're smiling at me.
Yeah, not at all. I've got plenty of bariatric babies, not by me, I hasten to add. But no, you can have a perfectly normal pregnancy after bariatric surgery. Indeed, it's safer to have pregnancy after you've lost a lot of weight rather than have what they call a super mum pregnancy, i.e. very overweight. Pregnancy is dangerous in childbirth. A lot of things can happen. And if you're more than 5-6 stone overweight, that's a real problem. Doing an emergency cesarean section with someone who's overweight is dangerous for mother and baby. So absolutely no question. If you're more than 3 or 4 stones overweight and you want to have a baby, think of losing the weight first.
Yeah.
For your own sake as well as the baby's.
Yeah.
So there's nothing stopping you having a very not natural, normal pregnancy after weight loss surgery. Indeed, I have done quite a number of bariatric operations on young ladies in order for them to conceive, because they've tried IVF, but BMI over 35 or 40, you're not going to conceive very easily. And I've done weight loss surgery on them, and within a year they've successfully conceived naturally without needing IVF and had a family. And that's part and parcel of fertility treatment, is get the weight down. That's your best option to conceive. And then if that doesn't work, that's when you need the assisted conception stuff. But successful pregnancy, yes. The only caveat I would say is make sure your vitamin levels are all normal before you plan a pregnancy, because what you don't want to be is, playing around with your supplements and not really taking them, end up being folate or B12 deficient, and then finding out you're pregnant, but putting your baby at risk of a neural tube defect, spina bifida, because you have no B12 on board.
Wow, that's how important the B12 is for
Absolutely.
everybody, and especially for pregnant ladies. What about the changes in the stomach area, the torso, that happen when you're pregnant and as you get bigger and bigger? Will that change? Will the womb have any effect on the stomach at all?
Not at all. No.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't seem to be. No, I've had many ladies send me pictures going, yeah, I'm fat again for a different reason.
Absolutely.
But it's lovely. It's great that, people are happy that, they've lost weight, they've got back to a normal place in life, and they've had a normal pregnancy and are happy about it, not worried or struggling, or, there's nothing more difficult than watching, a lady who's, 18, 20 stones putting on even more weight because they're carrying a pregnancy that is really, really difficult, and the obstetrician are going, yeah, you're diabetic now, and so
Oh,
we're going to have to treat your diabetes because of your weight, and that's going to have an effect on the baby. And
yeah.
it's just, there's nothing good about it.
No, absolutely. If this doesn't prove to the big wide world out there, particularly all you health ministers, Mr. Wes Streeting, who is our Minister for Health at the moment, if you happen to be listening, look at all the issues the NHS has to deal with because of obesity in every aspect of life. We can no longer dismiss obesity as a lifestyle choice.
Oh, it's not a choice.
No.
That's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah,
Nobody wakes up and says, "Do you know what? I fancy being 18 stone today.
exactly.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go for it." It's something that happens because of life as we live it now, and our own inbuilt propensity to put on weight, given what we have to eat.
yeah,
And exactly as you say, I would echo that and saying there is no illness that I treat in hospitals that is made easier by obesity. Is nothing. Everything is harder to treat and more expensive to treat because of obesity.
yeah.
Everything.
And as an
Everything
obese,
I do.
yeah, absolutely. And as an obese person, it's actually very hard to hear. If you are not feeling well, every time you go to your GP, they say, oh, it's because of your weight. It's because of your weight. It's because of your weight. It's very, very hard to hear that all the time, that no matter what's wrong with you, it's because of your weight. But unfortunately, the brutal truth is obesity causes a significant number of ailments that are caused by our weight.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear, but it is true.
To paraphrase that, I would say that, struggling with an increasing weight will cause more than just weight related problems. It makes any problem that you might have harder to live with. And from my perspective, everything I do in hospitals, every treatment I can possibly think of is made harder and more expensive if the patient's overweight or obese. And the ridiculous thing is, you visit your GP and they say, oh, it's your weight. Oh, you lose weight. What they don't do is tell you how to lose the weight or give you help losing weight when help is at hand. So, you could prescribe GLP-1s, but you're not allowed to because
Yep.
the government's scared to let you do it because it's the cost. Or if you're seriously overweight, you could be referred for weight loss surgery on the NHS. Government will fund it because it's cost effective for the patient and for the government to get your weight down so that you don't struggle with the other health issues. That's for me the most ridiculous thing. We have a way out of this and no one's doing it.
No, even though weight loss surgery is available on the NHS, they have made it so difficult for people to be considered eligible. And the waiting list is, 12 years long or something?
No,
I mean,
2 years.
oh,
long.
is it? Is
But
it 2 years?
It's still a long time. You're
Yeah.
waiting for treatment you want now,
Yeah.
and someone says you got to wait 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very difficult situation. And I do think that somebody in power has to finally take it seriously. It's a disease. It's
Yeah.
a disease. We need to be able to deal with it. So, anyway, coming on to a slightly different subject. Of course, it's all weight related. And this is kind of, I want to explain to people who become obsessed with their scales why it is of no benefit whatsoever to weigh themselves 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, or even every day. They are not getting accurate readings of their weight. Can you say it to them in a way that they think, okay, yeah, all right, makes sense now?
Just stop. Get a grip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop weighing yourselves, will you? It's not helping. the whole point about this is long term. There's no point, I can get you to lose probably 2.5, 3 stone overnight by chopping your leg off. It's just the number is not important. It's what. So one of the questions I ask people: what weight is going to make you happy? Where do you think happy is in your weight? And partly it's for me to understand whether they've got a realistic expectation, but also for me to help introduce the section that, you might want to be 9 stones, but that was when you're in your 20s. You're in your 50s now. You're not going to be 9 stones. You would look great at 10.5 / 11 stones. You're not slim. You're not a perfect weight, but you'd look great. You'd be healthy, and you'd have lost 4.5 / 5 stones from where you are now. Let's get expectations correct. And once you set expectations like that and you say, being happy about your weight is not about achieving a number, because the second you go 1 pound above the number, you're going to go, it's all gone wrong. Oh, I'm putting the weight back on. So it's about being happy in your skin. Excuse the expression. And so I go more by when the clothes fit you and you get up in the morning and you can do the things you want to do, you're there. You are actually there. The weight you are at that corresponds with that feeling gives you a ballpark of where you need to be, but please don't chase a number. If you're chasing a number, you're never going to be happy.
It's Mel here from the Keep It Off podcast, and first of all, I owe you a massive apology. I promised a really exciting launch to celebrate our 1-year birthday, and it was due to happen on the 6th of April, but as you can see, life got in the way of life in a rather dramatic fashion, landing me in hospital. So many of you tried to sign up, and I'm really sorry that I let you down. So I am now officially going to move the date of that launch to the Whitsun Bank holiday, which is the 25th of May. It really will never be repeated, and it is only going to be available to 200 people. That's it. You're going to be signing up to become a Keto champion, and that will automatically entitle you to 50% off the Keto champion tier for life. That's just $9.99 a month. You will get a lifetime discount off of all our live events, together with priority booking. We're going to hold Keto champion group sessions with me personally to discuss anything and everything you are struggling with or you just want to ask us. And if in the future you decide you want to change or upgrade your membership, great, because you're still going to benefit from that same 50% discount. But there is more, because Keto is a living, breathing platform that constantly evolves, and we need you there to be involved. So if you're extra quick and you are one of the first 20 to sign up, you will automatically become a member of the Keto Champion Inner Circle. You'll have voting rights on all new products launched by Keto in the future. You're going to be invited to our monthly brainstorming sessions, where you can tell us exactly what else you want us to include in our services, or even if you think anything is not worth it or just needs changing. There will be in-person social meetups throughout the year, and so much more. All you have to do, click on the link in the show notes or go to ketomethod.com/FMO. That's ketomethod.com/FMO. But be quick. In every way possible, that makes absolute sense. But for most obese people, there is an ideal of what they want to look like. I think for an awful lot of people, they strive to look like the movie stars, the models.
Yeah, I get it.
And I have to be honest and say, when I went from a size 30 to a 16, I should have been absolutely over the moon. That was a massive achievement. But I wasn't, because I wasn't happy being a 16. To me, 16 was still the size that you couldn't buy in normal shops. It was still an out size, as they used to call it.
And I completely get that.
Yeah, I know. I understand for people why it is so difficult to not be obsessed. But the reality of weighing themselves, if you weigh yourself first thing in the morning, you'll get a reading on your scales. If you go and weigh yourself again an hour and a half later, you're not going to get the same reading.
No, you're only going to be disappointed. If it goes down, you're going to go, yeah, that's great. But the next time when it goes up a bit, you're going to go,
Yeah.
So I recommend people not to weigh any more than once a week, ideally every other week, because then you get the long-term trend. If you're actually trying to lose weight or you're on weight loss treatment, every other week is fine, because weight will vary day to day with, fluid retention, whether you've opened your bowels or not, what you had to eat last night, your mood, time of the month, all those kinds of things it'll all influence your weight on a daily basis. And there's nothing worse than seeing the scales go up, going, oh, another lost day. And you go, no, get on with your life, weigh yourself at most once a week, ideally every other week.
Yeah. I did actually, I won't tell you which family member it was because she'll probably kill me. But she did weigh herself probably 45 minutes after she'd last weighed herself. And she said, why haven't I lost more weight? I said, what, in 45 minutes? She said, yeah, but I just did a big poo. And she couldn't understand why that didn't then adjust
immediately register.
Yeah. But the thing is, these are detrimental behaviors. These are things that, in a way, without realizing, we're doing something, we're behaving in a way that is setting us up for failure, disappointment.
And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, my little part in that is setting expectations the best way I can. But that, when we enter into a weight loss pathway with patients, I think I always offer a session with a psychologist, because I think it's really important. Even if you're the most level-headed, balanced, Zen person going into this, you need to be sure that you understand what's coming your way and how your behaviors may change, your expectations may change as you go through the pathway. You may start off going, look, I'm 30 stones, I'd be delighted with 18 stones. And you get to 18 stones and go, no, I want to be 14. And you get to 14, no, I want to be 12, like I was when I was 18. Really?
Yeah.
So
why is it the case, Shaw, that you may have been 9 stone when you were in your 20s, but you'll never get back to that if you're in the 50s? Do we know why?
Because your metabolism's different.
Right.
You've had a lifetime of big, and a whole host of reasons why you're just not going to get back there without putting your body under a lot of strain. It's possible, and I've had patients insist that that's where they want to go. All right. But the payback is your bone health might suffer, that you are going to be inappropriately malnourished, if you like, protein deficient, etc., to get you to stay down at that level at your age. And that puts you at risk later if you have zero fat mass and your borderline protein balance, your bones are thinning a bit. If you have a tumble and a fall, you're not going to recover.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're, instead of 9 stones, you're 11 stones at 5'8", and you've got a little degree of fat mass, and your protein's in good order, your body proteins, your muscle mass is in good order, you've got decent strength bones, you'll be fine. So there is that sort of payback. But the reason you can't go back down there without putting your body at risk is age, I'm afraid. It does for all of us in terms of metabolism.
Yeah. And like we have said, we had a whole episode, didn't we, about the metabolic syndrome, that our metabolism is broken. Once you've put on more than 2 stone, it's already breaking down and is broken. So it's not going to be able to get us back down to where we were when we were younger.
No, but even for people who've never been obese, it's not going to happen, because it's just not, it's a bit like saying, I want my hair black again. I go,
right.
Well, I can dye it, but it's never going to grow black because
you're
not the right age.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thank you. And what about all the conflicting information out there about exercise? Now, I don't mean about how exercise improves our health generally. I'm talking about some people that will say, if you want to lose weight, you need to exercise more. And then there's a whole other group of people that will say, actually, exercising doesn't benefit weight loss whatsoever. It's about the food you're eating. Do you have an opinion on this?
Well, I do.
Good.
I always have opinions, you know me.
Yeah.
Exercise is fantastic for maintaining body health, cardiovascular fitness, which in times of adversity you absolutely rely on. You know, the difference in terms of recovery from an illness between someone who does regular modest exercise, you know, walks every 2 or 3 days, once around the block, whatever, just to keep a bit of activity going. Difference in recovery between someone like that and someone who does no exercise, night and day, especially if for instance, I do an operation, you come in, you need your gallbladder removing. Someone who is very sedentary will struggle to get over it quickly. Someone who does regular exercise, cardiovascular fit, you know, reasonable muscle mass, they'll get over it really quickly, back at work, back into life. So exercise is essential for body fitness. As I mentioned previously, the most efficient machine ever evolved is the human muscle. We've got fantastic muscles that with the minimum of energy can do the most amazing things. You know, you can run a mile and all you've burnt off is an apple. And it's like, I've turned that apple into a mile of running.
Yeah.
So to run yourself thin, not going to happen. Not unless you are running regularly 2 or 3 hours a day running. And there are some people who do that as a method of weight control. But not many people can do it because either your knees give out or you haven't got the time or the energy to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So as a method of weight loss, it can work, but the amount of effort you have to put in physically to achieve that is out of proportion with living a normal life. It's just like, it's much better to modify the diet so that you're eating the right foods in the right proportion and the right amounts, coupled with the modest exercise, you'll get weight loss and stay healthy. But the aphorism is you can't outrun a bad diet.
Yeah. And there has been studies done that basically show that if you eat, say, 200 calories over and above what you need to eat to stay consistent, the amount of exercise you would need to do to burn off those 200 calories is simply not possible. You know, you would have to, like you say, you'd have to run non-stop. You'd have to be bicycling and swimming and doing so much exercise just to burn off those 200 calories.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd have to, 200 calories is probably, 20 minutes of running.
Yeah.
Moderately paced running. So, take your pick.
Yeah.
You'd have to do that every day, and that's for just 200 calories, and that's dead easy to eat. 200
Absolutely.
calories.
It's less than a Mars bar.
Yeah. So that's the problem with exercise. So, we all recommend to all our patients to do some exercise, but just that keeps you fit and keeps you healthy, keeps your body working. But the weight loss, we need to do something else for.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. We know that exercise is going to keep us fit and keep us healthy. I don't think anyone should become totally obsessed with the idea of exercise. We need to keep our heart pumping, so a gentle walk is fine. If you like swimming, go swimming. Don't force yourself to keep up with the Joneses. Don't feel like you've got to go to the gym every day, lift weights and do stuff that you've never, ever done before. If you want a fitness regime, then fine, go to a gym, get yourself a trainer, build up very, very, very slowly until you're at a level where you're happy. But in the meantime, just go for a walk around the block if that's what it takes, you know.
I think for most people who are on a weight loss journey, the idea of putting on sports kit in front of other people and going to a gym where there's, the gym bunnies there with not very much on, it's like, do I have to? And the answer is, of course you don't.
No.
And I think there's plenty of activities of daily living that you can build on to actually develop a core of fitness that is enough, and as you said, once around the block, twice a day, 15 minutes of brisk walking so that you can talk, but you're having to sort of break your sentences because you get a bit out of puff. So it's not a stroll around the block, it's a walk. And you'll find that a week of that and you're suddenly doing it faster and faster, and then you can go a bit further and a bit further, and you do the stairs rather than the lift. Park your car a little bit further away from the station, and you walk briskly to your car. It all helps. And if you build little things like that into your daily routine, that's better than going to the gym twice a week. Probably I would suggest that that's a better habit because it's much more sustainable.
But that's the crucial word there. Build it in daily and it becomes a new habit that you won't even think of. It will become part of your daily life. Thank you so much, Shaw. This really has been great. Very, very helpful. I love talking to you as always. This has been the Keep It Off podcast. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, please let us know. And also please share it with somebody else that might gain something from it. All of our contact details, mine and Shaw's, are all in the show notes. If you've got questions that you want us to answer, if you've got stories you want to share, let us know about it. Let us know that you're out there. We love receiving your comments and your emails, and we'll see you next time.